Hello and welcome to the Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
Nope, my name is Mike Pioworski. I come to you from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most, here on the Rundown, where we bring you two-way views of conservative news. And it's Happy Gun Day Monday, Craig. Happy Monday Gun Day to you.
Happy Monday, Gunday. How was your weekend, sir?
Whew. Let's see. Long, lots of work on Saturday, work all day Sunday. So today, I'll tell you what happened. I got home in time to watch the 4 o'clock baseball game yesterday. That was, but the day started at like 6. So watched the baseball game. Then had a little snack. Evidently took a little nap, and I woke up at 12 o'clock and started getting ready for work today, and realized I was up like 8 hours early.
Oh,
Yeah.
well. I can't say that's never happened. It hasn't happened in a long time. I would say that I can't say that's never happened to me.
Yep. Yep. I was like, why is everybody being so quiet now all of a sudden? They were just noisy a few minutes ago, which was evidently the TV, but yep. Started getting up, getting ready for work, and took a look over at the clock, and it was like 12:05, and I'm like, well, that's weird that maybe the power flickered and it just went out 5 minutes ago. And I'm like, nope, it's 12:05. It's 12:05. Yep. Guess I'll go back to bed.
Nice. Well,
Yep.
it happens. Well,
Yep.
dude, I was at the California Republican Party convention all weekend and got a chance to hear from a lot of our statewide candidates. And yes, there are Republicans in California. I know, hard to believe, but there are actually more Republicans in California than in any other state in the country. Problem is, as I've stated before, there are twice as many Democrats.
Right. Right. Well, it's exciting. There's more cows in what is it? There's more cows in Indiana than there is people, but they can't vote. So
There
it's
you
just
go. Anyway,
Iowa.
I got to
I'm
say,
sorry. I think that's Iowa. I don't want to insult
Iowa.
the people of Indiana. Yeah.
Cows in Indiana. Are there cows in Indiana? I would assume there
I
are, but
think it's Iowa. That's Iowa. Yeah.
Iowa. Okay. Um, but we have some really dynamic candidates running. Unfortunately, most of them are going to have the challenge, obviously, like we said, like I just said, of running. They're running in a deep blue state, or at least a state that's got a whole lot of Democrats in it, and many of them are running for office for the first time. I gotta say that if these candidates, whether they win or lose, continue to be involved in Republican politics in California, we have a lot to be excited about. Not just the fact that they are a diverse group, but when I say diverse, I mean you got men, you got women, you got people from all different ethnicities, you've got people with business backgrounds, people with medical backgrounds, but all of them people who are excited about the opportunity of of bringing America back to California.
Which is nice, right? Because
Uh,
that used to be the place where America went to relax and chill, and now everybody's afraid to go.
oh yeah, no, and these are not the okay. We need to be more like the Democrat type Republicans. These are not
Right.
rhinos, or as I like to prefer to call them, jackasses in elephant suits. These
Yep.
are real conservatives, real everyday people, mothers, fathers, former military, law enforcement. I mean, people who are interested in really, once again, making California great again.
Right.
But also have those real world experiences that they can bring to elective office. So we have a lot to be excited about.
Yep. Before we move on, though, Craig,
Yeah.
let me give you some interesting facts
Okay.
since we just got there. These are the states that have more cattle than people, because we got that crack intern research staff right here.
Okay.
Let's see. Uh, there's only 9 of them.
Wait.
Not number
Did you
nine.
just say? Did you say that your intern is on crack?
No, I have a crack intern staff,
Oh, okay.
which means usually when she bends over to pick something up, I can see her crack. So that's just that's all right. She keeps my pencil there. I'm like, hey, let me have that. Thanks.
Okay. Back to.
Put that over there. All right. Let's see. The cattle. Starting with number 9. Number 9 is Oklahoma. Oklahoma has more cattle than people. Iowa. That's the one I said. Iowa, more cattle. Then Idaho, and then Kansas, Wyoming, North Dakota, Montana, Nebraska, South Dakota. Just to give you the idea of the range, in Oklahoma, it's 1.12 cattle per person, and in South Dakota, 4.32 cattle per person. In case you're curious about your state there of California, you have 0.14 cattle per people. 0.14 cattle per people. So you still got over 5 million cattle, but you've got over 38 million people.
Well, that's why steak is so darn expensive in California.
That's
You
right.
need to move to North Dakota.
That's right. Yeah, and move to North Dakota, you could just pull a steak off your grill when you hit it, walking down the road. I got another steak on the truck, honey. Come on.
Well, depending on the size of the cow, you might have multiple steaks.
Yeah, you want to go lower speeds when you're driving there. You're going to be driving around at 90 over there. Like 12 is a good mile. That's enough to take down a steak. Yep, 12. Yep.
All
Studies
right.
have shown anyway. Yeah.
I think we have bantered enough for a Monday.
That's not banter. That's those are facts.
Well, and I appreciate you sharing. I'm sure the cattle industry appreciates the plug. Moving right along. All right, you guys remember when he got elected mayor of New York City, one of the first things that Eric Adams said he was going to do was he was going to reinstitute the quote-unquote anti-gun task force. Or basically, their job was they were going to go out and they were going to try and find people who were in illegal possession of firearms. And that was their goal in terms of dealing with the increased violence that largely involved firearms there in New York City. Well, as it turns out now, and by the way, that first weekend they went out there and bam, supposedly they hit the ground running and they arrested 25 people right off the bat. Well, now all of a sudden we're finding out that most of these people that they're arresting, they're actually just kind of being released. In other words, not only are they being released, but they're being released without bail, right? So what they did was the New York Post actually went and they did some research, and they found that this team made 25 gun arrests in their first 3 weeks since launching in March, right? Now, 12 of those, and they could only find information on 12 of those cases, which makes you wonder what happened to the other 13. Were they incorrect arrests? Were they improper arrests? Or did they just decide, we don't have enough to keep them, and so we let them go? Well, of those, only 12 could they find any records on. And of the 12, 11 of the defendants, right, are back on the streets, right? 4 of them were cut loose with absolutely no bail, right? Absolutely no bail whatsoever. And let's take a look at what some of those cases involved. You have one case, you have a guy. Well, I wanted to share this one with you. Where is it at? So you had a guy who was released. Let's see here. Malvar.
I got it.
Malvar was 21, right? He was pulled over. There were drugs in the car. He had a loaded high point, which, by the way, should be a felony owning a high point anyway. That in and of itself should be purposed a reason for being held without bail. But then he was also not just charged with drugs and a gun, but he was also charged with criminal obstruction of breathing. All right, it's called choking. All right, he was charged with choking, and once again, this guy was released not on bail, Mike. He was released ROR. For those of you who do not know, that means on his own recognizance, right? So they're like, "Oh, dude's." Basically, what they did was they said, "Oh, dude's no threat.
He's a threat to his girlfriend's oxygen supply, evidently."
pretty much. But Mike, this feeds into the thing that people have to understand about when you start talking about dealing with being tough on crime and holding criminals accountable. There's 2 aspects of this. Number one, there's the cops, the people who are doing the arresting, the ones who are enforcing the law. But then you gotta have people on the other side, the lawyers, the district attorneys, the attorneys general. The people who are going to prosecute these offenders, they have got to have, they've got to be a part of the team, and they've got to be down for whatever it is you're trying. And by the way, the judges as well. If they're not all supportive of this, then you wind up. What good does it do to arrest people if you're just going to let them out on the streets?
Right. Yeah. Listen, Eric Adams is, like you said, has stayed to his word. He's being tough on crime. He is. He's authorized the anti gun units, whatever their, I forget the new term is. They used to be called the anti crime guys, and they are the difference between then and now. And he's done some tweaking. Listen, they used to be civilian clothes back then, but wearing like the color of the day, so other cops knew who they were. But now they're in their tack clothes and they're marked rather well. They're out there taking down bad guys with firearms, and like you said, the judicial system. Many of them there city attorneys appointed by former Mayor De Blasio, almost as if he wanted to watch the progress or watch there be no progress. You know, to set the ticking time bomb on justice in his city. He has continued, even as he's no longer mayor, to help watch the downturn of the formerly great city of New York. Craig, here's the interesting facts when you look at these. First off, like you said, there were 12 that were clear possessions of firearms. So some of the other ones might have been they might have been with somebody that was in possession of a firearm, or might have had drugs on them instead of firearms when they went to look for them. But of those 12 that had firearms on them, 11 were released. The only one that was not released was because he had an open warrant for murder, or I'm sorry, it's attempted murder. So they kept the attempted murderer on the warrant. Everybody else that had a firearm was let go on their own recognizance, as you said. Greg, what I also want to point out to you is, of these 12 individuals that they got, they all had previous records. Everybody had something going on, which proves the point, Craig, that if you have a city such as New York, where basically private firearm ownership outside the home is currently still illegal, all right? Mm-hmm. So if you make it illegal to carry a firearm outside the home, the law-abiding citizen is going to abide by the law and not carry a firearm outside the home. But guess who doesn't care? Guess who doesn't care about your little law that says you can't carry a firearm outside the home?
The criminal that you're trying to defend yourself from.
The criminal is carrying the firearm. He's already convicted of other crimes. He's already got murder warrants open for him. He's already been in jail for other things. He knows he's going to get released on his own recognizance. So he says, screw it. I don't care about picking up another misdemeanor or felony. I'm carrying the gun because I need the gun as a tool of my crime, or tool of my trade, to commit the crime. They didn't encounter any law-abiding citizens out there that said, I'm sorry, I'm a stockbroker, I'm a barista, whatever it happens to be. I'm on my way to work and I carry a firearm to protect myself from criminals. None of that. It was all hardened criminals that had the firearms because they don't give a crap about the law that says you can't carry a firearm without a permit.
Funny how that works, huh? Criminals,
amazing, right?
Ignore the law.
Yep.
Yep. You would think that people would have understood that basic concept by now, but they don't.
Yep.
Or at least the people passing these laws, or some of the people enforcing these laws.
Yeah. Well, especially if we pass the law, they'll obey it. Oh
yeah. Well, here's the funny part, and I always use this as an example. And this is just the typical liberal trope, right? Yep. If the law is not working, then clearly what we need is more laws.
Right.
Instead of, how about maybe we just actually enforce the laws that we have, like, murder, attempted murder, illegal possession of a firearm. I mean, if we were to do that and actually just enforce it and not put them right back out on the street, because I guarantee you, of those 11 that are back out on the street, at a minimum 10 of them have committed a crime since they've been back out on the street.
Absolutely, because they know if they get caught again, guess what's going to happen?
They'll be let right back out.
Yeah, don't do that again.
Folks, people who do this, people who commit these crimes, here's the thing. Unless they recognize that there are consequences for bad behavior, they will continue to engage in bad behavior. It is human nature. And it always kills me how liberals want to govern according to some unicornian way in which, or belief in which, how they think should be. Conservatives more tend to govern and pass laws based on how things actually are.
Right. Very true, sir. Very true.
It's the world we live in, I guess. Okay, moving right along. Oh, now this is a world that Mikey gets to live in. These are the sorts of sheriffs that we need more of. So there's a sheriff there in Florida, at Santa Rosa County, Florida, who has basically come out and said, so there was an incident where, Mike, you want to tell a little bit about this story?
Yeah, this is up in the Panhandle area there. Between Tallahassee and Pensacola, a little closer to Pensacola. Santa Rosa County Sheriff Bob Johnson uh, listen. He's a good sheriff, right? They had a criminal go nuts and was running from the police, and I guess he broke into a couple of homes along the way. This was a giant manhunt. I guess they had the helicopter, dogs, 50 deputies all involved in this, and this guy was. I like to think Craig like Ferris Bueller style at the end of the movie where he's running through houses because it's a shortcut. Well,
Yeah.
this guy's bad guy's running through houses like this, and he's committing a burglary, a felony every time he does it. And he got to one house, and the homeowner said, "Hey, I got something for you." Pop, pop. Gave him a few rounds to take with you. And first off, how about a homeowner that carries inside his own home? I like this guy. I like this guy already. Or
That's
girl,
impressive.
or
That's
girl
impressive.
already. He might have shot the guy with the shower gun for all we know. It would have been the shower gun. They end up catching the guy, later inside a house, trapped in a bathroom in a bedroom, and they get him, and the guy lived. And they go back and they're putting together the piece and the crime story, and they're talking to the bad guy, and he mentioned that the one house he ran through, they shot at him, and the sheriff was like, rather than do the whole, oh man, we got a bad shooter on the house, the sheriff says, listen, I encourage people to shoot burglars in their home. In fact, if you took a shot at them, let us know. We'd like to congratulate you and get you a nice free class over at our marksmanship course. So just to make sure next time the shooting is better. So that's how it is in the Panhandle in Florida. This is the place, by the way, Greg, when you see voting and election time come in Florida, you see all the blue in the down south part, and then as it moves north and into the west of the Panhandle, it gets redder and redder, and you're like, come on, Panhandle, baby, come on, and they come sweeping through, and they vote 100% red all of the time. So.
Well, the point that I think he's making is an excellent point. It's like, look, first of all, I think if you own a gun, you need to take training. All right, just because there's a certain level of. By the way, even when you do take training, you also need to practice with it because it is a perishable skill, right? You want to make sure that should you ever be in a situation where you need to utilize your firearm, that you can hit what you're aiming at. Also, that you understand use of force laws wherever you live, so that you know whether or not you are in compliance with the law when you decide, if you decide, when you're deciding whether or not to take a shot at somebody who's in your home. Well, if you're in your home, you have a lot more leeway than if you're outside of your home, right? But that's one of the things you learn when you take these classes.
Listen, this is a perfect opportunity for some good training, Craig.
Yeah.
First of all, when have you ever practiced? And I practice pretty much every scenario I can think of. That's something we do as trainers and something we do to stay proficient. But when have you ever done a running target through your own home?
almost.
I mean, you got time to draw and go, pop, pop, pop. Damn it, I missed.
I mean, dude, you watch the movies or the TV shows where the people just go running they go bashing into someone's window, and then they run through the place, and you see the grandma in the kitchen like, ah.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah, this is perfect because whoever this home occupant was, this was not, oh, let me get the gun out of the safe, let me go get it out of the drawer. This was kapow. This was they carried one in the bathrobe kind of nonsense.
I always know one of my favorite scenes when you see that happening was actually in The Matrix when he goes running through and people keep turning into an agent.
Yep. Yeah. By the way, the proper carry for a bathrobe is a shoulder holster. I know. I use hip holster. Yeah.
Is that what you do? Holster. You get out of the shower, you keep your shoulder holster right there.
Well, I mean, you don't wear. Listen, I got one of the nylon ones, so you can wear it in the shower. You don't want to. Listen. If you got a leather shoulder holster, don't take it in the shower. It'll shrink up.
See, tips from an expert. Where else would you get such quality advice?
And again, don't forget your shower gun. You should have like a Tupperware carrying case, like embedded on the wall. And if you need one, you just pop it open and take the gun out. So, in the shower gun. We got shower guns in Florida. I'll send you the article.
Okay, please do. I want to. Matter of fact, go ahead, post it at the rundown. I want to see the article on shower guns.
Hold on, let me get my crack staff on it real quick. So.
All right, moving right along. Joe and Hunter are in the news now. I know this doesn't sound like news, but in fact, it actually is. It is to a certain degree. Joe and Hunter, it's turned out. Now, we all know that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, we all know based on information, but both testimony or from people who've already said, Mr. Bobulinski, who's already noted that, yeah, no, Hunter and Joe have met with Hunter's business partners and clients and all of that. We already know that all happened, right? But this news story actually is saying that they actually met in the White House. So they're saying that there's evidence that is now available that they actually met. Not only did they meet, but they actually met in the White House. Now, remember, President Joe Biden said he's never even talked to his son about his business, that he has no idea what they are referring to, that he's never been involved in any way in his son's business. Well, now we all know that to be a lie. Or at the very least, we know that maybe he's just old and senile and forgot. That actually is quite plausible. What's interesting about this is now you even got the mainstream media reporting on it, Mike.
Yeah, Craig. It's funny because, like you said, now they're picking it up. Now they're starting to pick up the story. He said that he never met with them, and I think there was something like 19 visits to the White House that were logged by the Secret Service. Some reporters actually did some real investigations. So they said, well, how many times while he was vice president did he receive these visitors to his home in Delaware? Because listen, the compound where he lives in Delaware, completely protected, completely surrounded by gates and a Secret Service. And the Secret Service gates you have to come in, sign in and out of. And you know what the response was, Craig? We don't keep records at his house of who comes and goes. Like, yeah. I'm sorry. What?
I'm sorry. That is
What's that?
That is a lie. They keep all sorts of visitor records.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And it's just funny to watch, Craig, that everything that the right pointed a finger at and said this guy was doing, and the left went, no, he's a savior. He's our angel. This guy has lied to them every step of the way. Everything that he said he did was proven that he didn't do, and everything they said he didn't do, they proved he did.
Right now, what they're trying to do is they're throwing Hunter Biden under the bus. Their attitude is, look, this is all Hunter. This is all on Hunter, and the president did nothing wrong, and yada yada yada. Now, I will say this: I don't know that we have hit the point yet that we've seen enough that there is a quote unquote crime, right?
Yes.
Because you have to prove a quid pro quo to a certain degree. Now, mind you, if this were Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. or Melania Trump, you know that they would have already been thrown under the bus. You know, he would already be impeached. We would know this already. We know this already. But what we do know is that Hunter Biden lied. He said that Joe Biden lied and lied multiple times, lied during the campaign. And we also know that the mainstream media and big tech helped to cover up that lie.
Absolutely. It's once again, it's more lies proven more. And again, I can't help but notice that the left is not doing the whole, oh, he lied to us. Oh, they're just like you said, oh, just blame it on Hunter. So evidently Hunter is the one who makes the White House schedule for visitors.
Exactly.
Exactly.
A crackhead is the White House scheduler.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
But anyway, folks, just so you know, I probably do believe that eventually, rather than incompetence, you may actually wind up seeing Joe Biden get impeached for a very different reason. But I think in the end, what they'll wind up doing is they'll wind up removing him via the 25th Amendment.
I don't think they'll impeach him, Craig. I think that once Republicans, as predicted, should take back the House later this year, that they won't disgrace the House the way the Democrats did by abusing the impeachment process that way.
I think what they'll
I
do though is they will use it as leverage to convince him that, look, dude, your better days are behind you. You probably
Yeah,
should
they'll
now.
walk in and they'll go, listen, bro, we're up 30 votes right now. Okay.
Right.
Um, either do this or we do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right.
They're going to
But
convince him to gently go
right.
into that good night, and then we're gonna have to deal with Kamala.
Yeah. Well, and remember, because it's going to take we have to control the Senate also
Right.
for the impeachment to work. So I did send you some research there, Craig, if you want to hit that quickly before we hit the next story. I sent you a little, it's a story I pulled back up from, we must have done it on Arms Room Radio. I thought we did it here on the rundown, but it must have been an Arms Room Radio story.
Was that the one?
This is a Florida man, and he has a shower gun that he keeps in his shower, and he had somebody break in while he was in the shower, and he was able to pop out the shower gun and defend himself. So there you go, the shower gun.
Okay. Well, there you go. Look,
Yep.
Florida man.
Yep.
You can always count on Florida for a good story.
Yeah, you can. Now he's probably not from Florida because crazy isn't born here; it just shows up.
It just shows up there like it gravitates to Florida.
Yeah, it just shows up. Yeah. Very rarely when you do the research, you find out they're from here. They just do their acts here. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving right along. All right, so this next one, now this kind of broke on Friday, and we didn't have a chance to talk about it, but there were some phone conversations that actually had come out between some leaders, some Republican congressional leaders. The only two that are really identified in this particular phone call were Republican leader Kevin McCarthy and Liz Cheney. And it was basically a discussion about what's going to happen or how they're going to handle what was going on January 6th. And as a part of this discussion, Kevin McCarthy stated that he was going to recommend to the president that he resign, that he step down as a result of what happened on January 6th. And the interesting thing about this whole thing is, some people, people have gone kind of nuts. I don't want to say nuts. There's been a lot of discussion about how this in particular is going to affect Kevin McCarthy, or why this information was released, who the people were who were on this particular call. And there are a lot of people who are like, well, Kevin McCarthy should not be the leader because he was anti-Trump and he's against Trump and he thought Trump should step down and resign. And I think there's a number of different ways you can take this call. And I wanted Mike C, get your perspective on what you thought, number one, about the call and about how you analyze that call.
Well, I think that the call, if I recall correctly, occurred on January 6th. It wasn't like this happened afterwards. And I guess a lot of people, and I don't even credit Kevin McCarthy with coming up with this by himself. He probably heard it from somebody else. But I think one of the courses of action they were examining was, how do we stop what's going on? So this call, again, let's take it into account that it probably occurred during the siege of the Capitol, right? And they said, well, if the president resigns, then they wouldn't be here at all. So I think that's probably how the topic came up of it. Otherwise, what you have the impeachment process you could use afterwards, which we know what they do, right? But I think this was probably one of those things that come up. The issue I have with Kevin McCarthy is he's a diehard swamp addict. He's one of the people in the swamp. He's half the reason. We know that probably half the Republicans in the House weren't Trump fans or didn't like Trump because they'd been there so long, they're embedded in the politics of it. And he wanted, what Trump wanted to do was get rid of the politics, not of the political parties, right? But the politics of it, the lobbying, the putting money in people's back pockets and getting them and buying votes. That's what he wanted to get rid of. And when he talked about draining the swamp, it was bringing back normal everyday citizens to be your elected representatives, not these lifelong career politicians that are up there only for themselves. And that's the definition of Kevin McCarthy.
Well, no, you're right. And I dealt with Kevin McCarthy when he was the Republican leader in the state assembly here in California when I was a brand new legislative employee. And he definitely is part of the swamp. In this particular case, you're right. I think that they didn't know what they did not know.
Right.
The idea, though, of saying you think he should resign when you really don't have all of the information. I just don't know
Right.
that I would have made that statement on a phone. Now, if you had all the information and you still felt comfortable that that's what you would recommend that he do, then that's what you should do. Now, I do think he deserves a little bit of credit in this respect. Number one, if that's what he did and he believed, and he actually said that to the president, well, then the president shouldn't be mad because, he basically is just telling what he said he was going to do. So he's just following through on what he said he was going to do. But after that, you saw that Kevin McCarthy came out and actually stood behind the president and stood behind him during the second impeachment process and all of that. So when you look at it that way, at least he may have had issues behind the scene, but he still remained a team player supporting the president afterwards, even though he felt a different way.
He wasn't supporting the president. He was supporting his future in the Congress is what he was doing.
Well, there you go. Okay.
He knew,
I'll accept that. I will accept that.
He knew the president would be leaving, and he knew in order to keep his majority seat, if it came back up again, that he needed to be the one up there, being strong and standing behind the party.
An anti-Trumper will not be Speaker of the House.
Correct.
Period.
Correct.
That's just first of all, because Republicans are going to take back the House most definitely, and
correct.
And a huge percentage, a majority of the people who are going to be voting on who the Speaker is going to be are going to be a combination of this. They're going to be Trump supporters, or they're going to be people who are elected in areas that have strong Trump support. Therefore, they cannot be publicly anti-Trump.
Yeah.
And so they're not going to vote for somebody who is an anti-Trumper to have them be Speaker of the House.
Yep. The phone call, like you said, you're surprised they said it on a telephone.
Yeah.
Well, Craig, because they're sitting there watching the liberal media, right, and they're watching the news come through, and they are convinced they're all going to be assassinated or tarred and feather and taken outside and hung. These are the scared and the weak, and they're afraid of a couple of souvenir seekers.
And for the life of me, this is what's frustrating. For the life of me, it's like, look, I'm not saying you have to like how the president handled it. I'm not saying you have to believe in it. I'm not even saying you can't be mad at him for how he handled it. But what I am saying is this, is that when you start talking about impeaching him or he needs to resign, this is an impeachable offense. Well, show me exactly what he did that is a high crime or a misdemeanor.
Right.
Please show me that. Show me the words that he said that were insightful. Right? I'm just not seeing it. And I've watched the speech multiple times, and I'm not, me, I'm not a big fan of listening to the president speak because half the time he dribbles on and on and on and doesn't say a whole lot except does a lot of name calling. But all that
he does a lot of rallying. He does a lot of getting support.
Yeah, but that's not what I look for in a political speech. It's just when I'm looking for and that's and once again, that's just me. I prefer to catch the highlights.
Right.
But my point is, I've listened to the entire speech. Right? No, my point is, I've listened to the entire speech multiple times. I've read the transcript, and I'm sorry, but the statements that they say, or they first of all, they never actually say what the statements are that made people storm the Capitol in an attempted insurrection. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, I've listened. His speeches do go on and they ramble. I want to say that, but his whole speech is to rally support for something. You may not be aware of what he's going to ask you for support for, but he's about getting everybody on the same page and getting them all in agreement with him. Now, the policy people like you and everybody else are sitting there going, "Get to the 3 sentences we need." All right,
exactly.
But everybody else wants to hear rah rah, America this, America that, and that's why we've got flag waving people out there and let's go Brandon and that kind of nonsense. So it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Exactly. You were always good at clarifying. So thank you. I appreciate that, Mike. So anyway, I will tell you this. I don't think it'll be very, very interesting to see if Kevin McCarthy does wind up being the Speaker of the House, because here's the thing. Competence and devotion to values is not necessarily the number one quality of a speaker. The number one
Yeah.
quality of a speaker is your ability to raise money and get other people in your party elected to office, to
Yeah.
gain and expand your party's majority in that legislative house. To
Right.
run you, by definition, you are supposed to be. Historically, you've been a deal maker. That's, Bob Dole, who is known as a moderate.
Yeah. Tip O'Neill. Yeah.
McConnell was known as a moderate. Dick Armey. The thing about them was they were deal makers. And when you
Yeah.
are the head of a legislative body, or your party's representation of that legislative body, you're mostly a deal maker.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
which
That's
means you're
right.
going to agree with some stuff that part of your base is not going to like.
Yeah, he's got to go. And if listen, I have no idea what's going to happen, right? But if Trump got reelected, one of the first 3 or 4 phone calls is going to be to Kevin McCarthy, going, "It's time for you to retire, like now, today."
Well,
That's it.
I will tell you, Kevin McCarthy has his own little political fiefdom in his correct congressional district. And they are very, very well known in California politics, and they have not always been known to support solid conservatives. They've supported everything from conservatives to moderates, but it's all who's willing to bow down. And I just people who know this know the Abernathy empire there in the Central Valley know it very, very well. And well, let me just say that they're they are kingmakers there. And I would question whether or not Kevin answers to them or they answer to Kevin.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, I get it, but you cross Trump again. If he gets reelected president again, it's going to be one of them deals where McCarthy's going to get dropped off in front of Hillary Clinton's house, and the newspapers are going to be talking about how McCarthy threw Hillary Clinton under the bus.
Well, but here's the other thing though that I will tell you.
What's going on?
Keep in mind, Donald Trump is a deal maker, and if he believes that there is a benefit that he can get out of keeping McCarthy in place, he'll do it. And to be real with you, if there's someone who can sell him on that idea, tell you what, Kevin McCarthy would be a top-notch used car salesman. Let me tell you.
The only thing that he's got to offer is to bring California to the table, and guess what? There's not enough California to bring to the table.
Well,
To the
once
Republican
again,
Party.
we don't, because I don't live in the swamp. I don't know what you have to feed to the alligators in the swamp to get them to dance. Kevin's been there for a while, so he may know how to get the alligators to dance.
Yep. Shower
even
guns.
if they're not California alligators.
Yep. That's it. Yeah, we got that's Florida gators. Let's be sure about that.
I don't know if we have California gators.
If you do, it's only because you smuggled them back, keystering them.
There you go. There you go. Okay. All right. We're going to move on to our parting shot. We all know that the media is all about misrepresentation of, we all know who the folks in the swamp are, and we all know the stuff that they do. And that's why I thought this one in particular was so appealing, because as we all know, the left claims that Trump colluded with Russia. And then there's a picture of Hillary Clinton saying, "Oh, that was me." Then we've got Trump kept kids in cages. And then you've got Barack Obama standing there. "Oh, yeah, that was me." And then you got Trump obstructed an active investigation. Oh, then you've got Schumer and Pelosi saying that was us. And then finally, Trump had a quid pro quo with Ukraine. And then you got Biden there saying, "Yeah, that was me."
That was me.
Or it should have been, "I did that."
I did. Did I do that?
Yeah. Well, and that, that just all fits right along with, one bit of news that we didn't talk hardly at all about had to do with CNN Plus. CNN Plus is going to be no more, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't know what they were thinking. It was like CNN already had abysmal ratings, right? So someone had the bright idea. Let's start charging them to watch CNN, and we'll call it CNN Plus.
Yeah.
Mike, didn't even last a month. In fact, on its 30th day, it will be removed. It will cease to exist. And one of the big signings that they did, and they paid this dude a grip of money, right? Was
$12 million.
Chris Wallace.
$12 million.
$12 million. And now that it is going defunct, Okay, for those of you who are just listening, it's a picture of Chris Wallace making a very disappointed look on his face, and it says, "The face you make when you're so woke you leave your cushy job at Fox for CNN Plus, and CNN Plus shuts down within 30 days."
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right, and then we got one more for you. Because this is a 2A show, this one makes total sense to have, and Mikey shared this one. I thought it was fun. So this is Girls with a Time Machine. It's got two young ladies, and one says, I'm your granddaughter," and the other person, I guess from the past, saying, "Really?" Question mark. And then you got Boys with a Time Machine, and on one end you got a guy sitting there, and you've got the founding fathers on the other side, and the new guy says, "Okay, rewrite the second one like you're talking to a 5-year-old." And that's how we wound up getting the Second Amendment, that even still to this day, the 5-year-olds on the left can't even read. Or, well, since it's written for a 5-year-old, they must be 4-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. And the founding fathers are going, how much more shall not be infringed could we write? You know? Shall not be infringed. Nowhere else in the Constitution does it contain the word shall not be infringed.
Nowhere. So
Evidently,
you would think
that's not enough.
that would be a real simple one.
Yep.
But
Exactly.
it's not. Anyway, hey, we're really up against it right now, Mike. Do me a favor, give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Let's say hey to Guerrilla Machining, Grid Defense, and our good friends, the California Republican Assembly.
That's right, folks. The links to their websites are in the description to this video. Please visit them. And as I always say, if you like what you see there, kick them down some cash, whether it's buying products or becoming a member, whatever you decide to do. There are organizations and businesses worth supporting. Support them as they support us, supporting you. With that, we're going to call it a day. Want to thank you guys for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and encouraging your friends to do the same. Remember, do that. Like, share, subscribe.
Let's go, Mets.